Alrighty. Let's take some praise. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Nortey by Nature. Take this one I love from Joe Metal. My everything. Me, Nortey by Nature. We're taking another healthy dose.
You ready, everybody? All right, listen.
Healing from a distance, telemedicine. Today we'll try and simulate the telemedicine, let me say facility, yeah? Let's see if we can create an app. I've got Dr. Kenneth Techi in the studio. You know him as a consultant gastroenterologist, head of gastroenterology at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and a co-founder of all-round specialist virtual clinic. He'll be joined by Dr. Gabriel Ganyaglo. He's a consultant obstetrician and urogynecologist and fistula surgeon, head of urogynecology at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Currently, he'll be joining us via Zoom from Freetown, Sierra Leone, I believe. We'll also have Maxwell Chumboating. He's a pharmacist, a tech enthusiast, and territory manager for medication management solutions with for West Africa, West and Central Africa with Becton Dixon. They are a medical technology giant. He'll be joining us in the studio alongside Dr. Techi. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Right, we're hooked, we're addicted. But many of my listeners last week were quite fascinated with the scope and the reach of telemedicine, the fact that at their fingertips, literally, they'll have access to many specialists. And somebody met me, I think, on Sunday and said, so you click and you've got specialists, experts, and seniors with vast experience at your fingertips. So we want to go into this today. Anybody who's gone onto the app, you're welcome. You can actually register and see. We'll be able to take your interaction with the doctors here. Just to simulate. Since it's a simulation, if you're doing that for the purpose of today, probably we'll find a way of getting back to you and making sure we get the feedback. We've just been joined by Maxwell, who is a pharmacist. So I have a gastroenterologist, a pharmacist, and I like this one, consultant obstetrician gynecologist, but he's also a uro gynecologist and fistula surgeon. Let me just start with you, Dr. Ganyaglo. You are in Freetown with us. I hope you can hear me.
I hope you can hear me too.
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can see you now. Dr. Ganyaglo, you're most welcome to Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM.
Thank you.
Right, and if maybe I don't know whether I have lowered something, but you're a bit low. If you could speak up a bit. So you're in Freetown, but you're with us here in Ghana at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And I know my listeners, my listeners, they are discerning listeners. They would want to know, what's a urogynecologist? Just quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good afternoon to all your listeners. We are all familiar with who an obstetrician gynecologist is,
right?
But the urogynecologist is the one, is a gynecologist who specializes on the urologic problems of women. In other words, it's just the female counterpart of a urologist that we all know. And it's mostly concerning the urinary and then the sexual and lower gastroenterologic functions of the female. So yes, that's an area of unique specialization, not as common as you may find with gastroenterology or other areas of infertility, reproductive health, family planning. But it's a discipline that is very much needed, and Ghana College in its wisdom has established a fellowship in that arena. So very soon, there are going to be many urogynecologists in Ghana, and the discipline will become. Thank you very much, Nortey, for the opportunity, and I hand you over. Bye.
Okay, right. And Dr. Ganyaglo, just before you go, so that's all those pelvic complications, I guess the UTIs and all that, and then the prolapses of the pelvis, the vagina, and all those things are your territory.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
correct.
Great. And you are also a provider when it comes to telemedicine. I'm intrigued and interested in the application in your specific area of specialization, all these vaginal examinations and things. And my listeners are also intrigued and wondering, well, can this truly be done via telemedicine? So we'll be hoping you'll be sharing with us as we progress on the discussion with regards to how you do this. And for my listeners, when you call in, you'll be able to have a little interaction in some of the areas of specialization. So, Doc, we're glad to have you in Freetown. Coming back to the studio, I have Max, if I can call you that.
Sure.
Yeah? And you represent Beckton Dickinson in West and Central Africa.
Sure.
They are a telemedicine giant, right? Quite well known in that area. But for a pharmacist, again, so what? You're doing all your stuff online, or some of your stuff?
Okay, so as pharmacist, I have a great interest in technology.
Okay.
So I have been part of designing medical tech solutions for some of my friends around.
Okay.
But with Beckton Dickinson, we are more of a health technology company.
Right.
So more of a health tech. So Currently, we don't have a deployed telemedicine solution,
Right.
but we have a lot of AI-powered automations in medication management where I am a specialist in
Wow.
West and Central Africa.
Wow.
So where we have automated dispensing solutions and robots, mainly to reduce the risks of medication errors.
Okay.
And also improve patient safety.
Right.
Nurses always talk about the 5 rights. Now some people even say 7 rights.
Mm-hmm.
That you have to get the right drug or the right medication, the right dosage form, the right route,
Mm-hmm.
the right patient.
Okay.
And then we also have even the right timing. Some have even added the right reason for prescribing the drug,
Okay.
even the right documentation, and also the right for the patient to refuse.
Right.
So with automation that BD is doing, we can call it BD Becton Dickinson.
Right.
So in the medication management space, we do more of a lot of automation from the ICU where there is the higher risk of having medication or because of the pressure and the number of medications that are taken, especially the IV medication.
Okay.
When it gets into the bloodstream, when you make a mistake and it gets into the bloodstream, the chances of getting it out is nearly impossible.
All right. So these apps and these advancements you're talking about, typically you're looking at on-site facility-based, but
Yeah.
you're saying currently BD doesn't have an online telemedicine
Yeah.
app, but these are applicable.
These are applicable, so they can
Right.
be integrated, especially our automated dispensing solutions.
Okay.
Can
Understood.
be integrated with telemedicine.
Right.
So we have a solution which is yet to be deployed in Africa, where after a telemedicine, the patient gets his prescription, there is a QR code on it.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to a pharmacy. The pharmacy can run 24 hours. He goes there, scans the QR code.
Mm-hmm.
The robots will pick the medication, label them, pack them, and dispense them.
Whoa.
So at 24/7, the patient can get access to medication.
Okay.
And there is this global integration that we're working on.
Right.
So our platforms are able to integrate with even the hospital management information system,
Okay.
and also some telemedicine solutions that are available with those solutions.
Right, great stuff. Coming to you, Dr. Kenneth. The listeners love it when I say touchy instead of
Right.
touchy.
And I love it too.
From Pando. This is still, quite, should I say, a recent development, even though it's been around for a while, and enhancing our capacity and our ability to use this telemedicine is a big thing. Now, we had you last week. We went through the basics, the fundamentals. We know the application, right? And the use of information technology and communication and all that. All right. So we want to run through it today. There were some questions that came up, right? We know you, for instance, have co-founded an app, right?
Yes.
All-round virtual specialist clinic, right?
Yes.
And when users register onto this app, they have access to a range of specialists and services.
Correct.
Okay, so pharmacy will be in there, uro, gynecology, what have you, are all in there.
Yeah.
Okay, today we want to run through it, and either using the app itself or our phone lines, listeners can have an interaction. Last week, you educated us and explained that typically a session is about 25 minutes.
Yes.
I remember user surveys and research that show us that typically in facility people are doing 8 to 10 minutes or maybe sometimes even less. All right, so 25 minutes is quite adequate. Or right, so we want to know and see what a listener or a caller, a user will get in that kind of space. So I'm hoping listeners, you can do that. You can use our phone lines 03021 6541, and if you go to the all-round health app, right, and you get on board, then I see my guests have their laptops in the studio, right? We can have an interaction. Okay, but let me take you. Were you going to say something?
No.
Yeah. Let me just take one of the issues that came up. One of my staunch listeners in the US quickly went online after the show last week and saw, while she tried to register, something which suggested that the app will have access to your data, and she was a bit anxious about this, right? Can you explain what that means?
Okay, it's pretty simple. So just like you would go into a normal hospital and you'll be required to register,
Okay.
when you go to the all-round website, the first step in using the service is to register.
Okay.
And being an online service, you are expected to give permission that the data you put in there, and this is only health data.
Your health data. Okay.
Would be accessible to the healthcare provider.
Okay.
Because during registration, you are asked to give the usual permissions and you consent.
Right. Okay.
And then you will be asked to provide some background information about,
Basic
of course, your
demographics,
age, your gender,
right.
if you have any past medical history, hypertension, diabetes, any medications that you use, any allergies. So these are all incorporated. And if you are able to, provide that data must necessarily be available to the health provider who you are consulting.
So you're not going into my gallery to see all
no.
You're not going to.
Not.
These days we're very careful.
The interesting thing about it is that even as administrators, we are not able to see your data unless you grant us permission.
Okay.
But as soon as you book a healthcare provider on the system, they will be able to access your medical data.
Right.
Include especially allergies, and Max was just talking about right dosing and right medication. On our system, if you indicate that you are allergic to paracetamol, and the doctor tries prescribing paracetamol, the system will block it. So that's the kind of data that is available to the provider.
Right. Yes. So I hope that clears up any questions. But if you have any other questions, you're free to ask. You're using an application, indeed a solution. Right, it has all the safeguards. Last week we went through all the data protection safeguards, the international specifications and standardizations that this particular app, which we are using as a proxy to explain telemedicine, has, and the importance of some of the regulatory measures and so on and so forth. Okay, we also mentioned last week that the quality and the sophistication of the app is very, very important. You can't run this on WhatsApp or any Mini TikTok and say you are doing telemedicine, right? That is why it had to meet, and it does meet, these standards. Okay, so what it means is that once somebody registers, Dr. Techi, in fact, all of you, it means that when they book a session with any provider on the app, when that booking is activated, it means that prior to the session, you would have had access to this data.
Correct.
So you would know that Nortey perhaps is allergic to this, or he's had a CVA or a stroke in the last 6 months, and so on and so forth. Correct. That is the data that is important to facilitate the process.
Yes.
So that you are not repeating questions and stuff.
And this information is not available to the doctor only before the consultation, but actually during the consultation.
Right.
During the video interaction, the data is displayed by the side.
Okay.
And so it will warn you, you can just by glancing to the side of your computer see, this is the person, the age, the gender. And that's one difficulty that many patients don't realize. If you're consulting with a provider online, so let's say on a regular day, I would see 25, 30 patients, interaction, inpatients, outpatients. And then you send me your lab results and say, you want to consult. I have no access to, I don't remember, even though you would remember the provider. The provider does not remember you. Okay. And so he might not be giving you the right feedback. Okay. But in a well-structured telemedicine software, as soon as you start a consultation, it's matched. And so the provider knows that this is the person I'm dealing with, and the chances of error is almost nil. Okay. Right, if you just joined us, 22 minutes past the hour of 2 already on Joy 99.7. We're getting into the actual processes and procedures of telemedicine. If you want to call in and ask a question, 0302 6541 030221 6541. Right, you just heard speaking Dr. Henry Techi. Next to him, I have a pharmacist, Maxwell Chumboating. Right, I'm tempted to say Chumboafo. Right, and then in Freetown, Sierra Leone, I have a consultant obstetrician gynecologist with specialization in urogynecology and fistula surgery. If you have any of those concerns, you're good to go if you call us. Right, and we'll relate to you as if it's a telemedicine session. If you want to do the same via the app, then go on to your Google Play Store
and set yourself up with the all-round health app, right? We're talking about telemedicine. We're trying to simulate. Okay, so having cleared that up, is there any other housekeeping, anything that I've left out of the early steps? Any of you, Maxwell, anything that...
Yeah, sure. So just a disclaimer, I have been part of the design of the All-Round Health app. So I have a lot of input, especially in linking it to some of the pharmacy solutions that we may talk about. We'll talk about later.
Right.
So to add to what we've just been discussing, is also the right for the patient to stay anonymous.
Oh.
Right.
I can access telemedicine and stay anonymous.
Yeah, because the moment you start the video consultation, you can decide not to be on video.
Okay.
Right? So the doctor alone can be on video, and you can turn your video off.
Turn my camera off?
Yes, you turn your camera off, and you can do audio.
All right.
Like that. So that is possible for anyone who wants to consult, but still doesn't want his face to be known or to be seen by the other provider.
Okay, hang on a sec, Maxwell. So what it means is I booked a session, I've accessed the specialist, I have the right not to show my face, right? Or even activate my video. Now, it also suggests that should the specialist or the provider require to see my face or any visual material, they would request, and I have the right to also decline or accede to that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see, we have built a solution to make it that you, the user, you are also contributing to the solution and the treatment that you are going to get from the doctor.
Right.
So if you opt out, the doctor will put it in his nose that you opted out. He wanted to see your face and how you smile, or whatever. Maybe there is something that's swollen you don't want to show.
Right.
He will put it there. But we are just saying that there is that independence and that patient right is also being respected.
Wow. Okay.
At any point in time you want to even go off our solution, because we are GDPR compliant, you can request that all your data be deleted.
Okay.
Right? Or we can deactivate you. You have different options there. So don't be afraid to sign up. So we say sign up is free.
Right.
And the moment you try to sign up, you have this disclaimer, you have the terms of use for you to read. If you accept, you will proceed. If you don't accept, you are not even part of us.
Okay. Great stuff. You're hearing this on Ultimate Health Joy 99.7 FM. We're making a further foray into the area or the domain of telemedicine, and we're trying to simulate. So feel free to call us, and I'll unleash you onto our specialists here, and then we can try it for fit, or goodness of fit, as they say. You have a lot of power. I don't know whether you can tell Kolebu that, okay, I'm done with you guys, delete my folders and give me everything, or delete my data in Kolebu, or whether it's Rage Hospital and so on and so forth. But let me just secure this before we move forward. What we're explaining now, though we're using all-round virtual specialist clinic as a proxy, should apply to all, should I say, good to go, in good standing telemedicine apps. You should have all these powers and autonomies and so on, and rights.
Yeah, actually, this is what is expected of
That's the standard.
A good telemedicine. Because one, you have to comply with all the authorities in terms of technology there.
Okay.
So, for example, all round is DPC, Data Protection
Compliant.
Council compliant in Ghana.
Okay.
They are HIPAA compliant. Because we have clients, like you said, people calling from US.
Right.
I think this week one of our doctors had a consultation with some patients from the US.
Okay. Right.
And we have patients even calling in from Europe.
Okay.
They are not Ghanaians, they are full Europeans. But these, because you are dealing with global patients, you also try to also be compliant with some of the data protection laws in those countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Great stuff. So you're welcome to join us. 030-221-6541 Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. Let me swing to Freetown while sitting in Kokomimle. And Dr. Ganyaglo, I hope you can hear me. I'm just wondering, I mean, the level of information perhaps required even at the registration level, all the, if you know stuff about your medicine history and all that. I'm just thinking, okay, and many probably will be thinking the same alongside me, that then I must be pretty health literate. I must be able to talk about these things with you or whoever. I'm happy to have a specialist, but the kind of things you are expecting me to register with, let's say I'm a pregnant woman, and I have the access to Dr. Ganyaglo. Do you typically find that this would be a hindrance or a deterrent, the level of health literacy and awareness of your health situation and your health information, Dr. Ganyaglo?
Yeah, I think you make a very valid point, Nortey. The patient's level of understanding of health information is also a part of it. However, if you look at the fact that most of us are very familiar with media, or let's say Androids and devices that we use, a lot of the phones have TikTok videos all over. The average Ghanaian is able to navigate. Once you get the registration process sorted, the language of communication is up to you. I have consulted patients who have spoken languages other than English, and so you don't necessarily have to speak English. And I've also encountered patients who started a consult without video, and halfway they say, hey, why not? They put on their video, and then they begin to enjoy the interaction. And indeed, you find that if a lot of patients have information about their health that they are not even able to express to their physicians in the in-person consult. But if you get help and this is uploaded onto the platform, I get the opportunity to review all of these even before the consult. So whilst we are in the live video consult, I'm able to explain some of their laboratory results and what other consults with other physicians have revealed. So all in all, it is quite beneficial. You couldn't be doing an examination virtually. However, at the patient's choice, I can make some recommendations as to who they can see, who is close by to where they live, and that person can conduct a physical exam when it becomes absolutely necessary. So there's quite a lot to gain on the telemedicine platform. And specifically in the area of urogynecology, we do a lot of patient counseling, even during the in-person consults. And the patient has to understand a lot of things, and that helps their recovery process too. So telemedicine offers more room for that kind of consultation, and you can have repeat consults at your own good time, and then you get better understanding of what is going on with your pelvic floor. Thank you, Alola.
Right. I like the way.
Just to add on to that, I think telemedicine actually is a better way, a better means for persons who may not be medically literate, as you put it, because a number of benefits. One, if you are consulting in a brick and mortar hall, if you leave home and you've left your medications at home, that's the end of it. But for telemedicine, before you start a consult, you would have gotten some information to keep your medicines around, for example. And so during your consultation, I say, okay, you don't remember the names of your medicines. Just show me the box.
Show me the medication.
And then I will be able to update that data. And
show me the packaging.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it helps.
Great stuff. If you've just joined us, 32 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. An interesting discussion on telemedicine. We're trying to get into that. Our phone line 0302 216541. You can call in and ask the questions. If they fall in any of the domains, that would be great. You can also join via the all-round virtual specialist app, and then we'll be able to get a real roadworthiness test in a sense, and give the feedback or share the feedback across. WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Last week we learned that indeed when you choose or select a provider or a specialist on an app, you get to know what languages they are fluent in. You would also probably have pre-indicated your language of comfort and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of fidelity, as they say. You can fine-tune things to suit yourself, right? Dr. Ganyaglo has mentioned that there's a lot of stuff they can do, and if it is needed that they do an examination, they can actually make a request for same, and then you proceed, and then you will share also with your specialist online the findings or the feedback from those investigations. So we're still good to go, and we're getting to understand this better. So coming back, you deal with gastroenterology, and that's also internal, right?
Yes.
Are you able to? This is the big crunch issue for a lot of people. What examination can you do? We can understand that you can review lab results, you can make a diagnosis, but how do we substitute physical, hands-on, laying of hands examination, palpation, or whatever? How do you do that in your area?
Okay, so definitely palpation.
And let me add, a lot of people say it's overhyped. You do not examine, or you cannot examine. So they're a bit skeptical about that. Can you examine me audiovisually?
Okay, so let me use gastroenterology as a typical example.
Okay.
I mean, as a gastroenterologist, when I'm consulting, be it physical or telemedicine, there are a number of telltale signs I'll be looking for.
Okay.
Now, if I'm consulting and you've lost weight, I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that whether it's on telemedicine or it's physical.
Okay.
If your eyes are yellow, I can tell that you're
Alright.
jaundiced.
Right.
Either way.
Okay.
I mean, if you show me your palm and it's pale, I can tell that, look, you might be anemic. If your tummy is distended,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell. I can just ask you, and if there's a swelling on one part, I may suspect that there might be
Alright.
something.
Okay.
Now, the reason I said last time that it's overplayed or overemphasized is that even if you came to me for a physical consultation and I
Right.
examined you and I thought that your liver was enlarged, I'm still going to ask you to do some form of imaging to confirm this.
Right.
If I think you are jaundiced, I'm still going to ask for some tests, to see your bilirubin levels, which
Right.
would confirm the jaundice. So, yes, physical examination may not be to the extent that one would get in telemedicine,
Okay.
but I think that very little is lost, as has been shown also, through research, and there are many of these, that a lot of, up to 89% of telemedicine consultations are actually able to resolve medical problems
Okay.
at one sitting.
Right.
And so very few will then have to have a planned face-to-face consultation for physical examination.
Okay. All right. So we can make up for what we
Yes.
seem to lose or lose out on. Right.
Right.
Now, this aspect to do with prescription.
Right.
Right. So you've had your consultation. Obviously, there's a diagnosis or a formulation, and then if there's the requirement for medication, right, there's a prescription. So how does that take place online? We know about procurement of medicines, but this prescription process, what would I be taking to a pharmacy, for example, from you, from a telemedicine session?
Okay. Now, for a very good telemedicine service, you don't have to finish the service and then the doctor now takes a prescription pad, writes it out, takes a picture and sends to you. No.
Okay.
On the system, once we finish the consultation, there is actually a prescription integrated into the software.
Okay.
So the doctor, and I should say the all-round prescriptions is the most comprehensive I have seen since I've been working anywhere in the world.
Even though you have to say it.
Yes, well, yeah, and
Right. Okay.
listeners can go and check it out.
So it's built into the.
It's built into the system,
Right.
and once the doctor finishes the consultation, and like I said first, if I try prescribing a drug you're allergic to, I'm stopped.
The system will
But
block.
the system will block. This
Right.
prescription would capture the indication for every medicine, the timing, the duration, includes my medical and dental council registration, and many more information. But not just that. Now, once this is ready, the
So you're
patient.
being regulated and monitored,
Oh, yes.
evaluated on a consultation by consultation
Everything,
basis.
yes. So nothing,
Right.
and you don't have to do this physically. So also it's more convenient for the doctor.
Okay.
Now, once the consultation is done, the patient gets a text, a WhatsApp, and an email saying your prescription is ready. And if you had indicated prior that it should be assigned to a particular pharmacy, the pharmacy also gets a text,
Okay.
WhatsApp, an email that there's a prescription. They prepare an invoice, and this is available to the patient online.
Right.
The patient approves, decides that I like it, I don't like it, I want half of it delivered, and then pays online, and the medicines are delivered to the patient
So once
wherever
this
they
is
are.
actually effected,
Yes.
you, the consultant who had the session with them
Yes.
via telemedicine, or
Telemedicine.
via the app or online,
Yes.
you'd also get confirmation that X medication has been prescribed to this client, or is there a
No, so
feedback loop like that?
I make
You
the prescription.
prescribed.
Yes.
Will you get feedback that it has actually been?
Oh yes, I can always go and check if the prescription has been dispensed.
Okay.
Because I would have access to the notes that I have written for this patient.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, but the patient also has the right to say, okay, I don't want the prescription delivered. He then just downloads the prescription, takes it to the regular pharmacy,
Right.
and buys it. And if it's delivered from our side, then even the pharmacist and their details also then appears on the prescription for future reference.
Okay. All right. Great stuff. So, at what point you're saying inbuilt into this is the pharmacy apps or the
Yeah.
medicines apps, which will check and try and prevent errors or minimize to the barest any errors related to medication. Okay. So, in the instance where, of course, a patient is not aware of any untoward reaction or experience with medication, then that would not be captured in registration, right? But is there an ongoing check, since you are in the background, building these systems, monitoring? Is there an ongoing check of prescription and all this?
Okay, so let me take it from this way.
Yeah.
So for our medication site starts with when the the consultation is concluded.
Okay.
So when the consultation concludes, the patient is free to go and wait or go home, but the doctor has some more time to prepare his notes, his summary, add prescriptions, add laboratory requests, even set treatment goals and plans for the patient to follow.
Okay.
Right. So with the prescription side, if the drug is already prescribed there, the doctor just starts typing, it picks up. Now the doctor is allowed to input the side effects and the drug interactions and the things the patient must avoid on the prescription.
Right.
And when the prescription goes out, the patient have that copy. He knows everything. This is not the doctor's script that pharmacists find it difficult to read.
Okay.
We say pharmacists are magicians.
So we avoid doctors and other professionals' bad handwriting.
Yes.
All right.
Because everything is typed and text typewritten.
Okay.
Now, when the prescription is done, either the administrator or the provider, after consulting with the patient, decides to either assign it, if the patient wants it to be assigned to his preferred laboratory or pharmacy, the administrators will assign it to. He gets a text consultation and a text message and a WhatsApp notification and email notification.
Okay.
And at the same time, the pharmacy involved that had been assigned to gets notification to confirm if they have these products available and they will be able to dispense.
Okay.
If they accept, the patient gets notification that your pharmacy you assigned, let's say pharmacy A, is ready to accept your prescription.
Right.
And he will proceed to send us a bill. The bill, the patient will also be notified of it. Then you can pay using all the payment possibilities that you have.
Right.
But any point that the patient is even taking the medication, although the side effects have been written on the prescription and he knows them, if he develops any side effect, last time I think Ken talked about the text consultation feature.
Right.
So usually after your major video consultation, we give you about 2 or 3 text consultations for free.
Right.
For you to report.
Which gives you access to your specialist.
Exactly. It gives you
via
access.
regular text message.
Regular text message, but this is not a regular phone text message.
Okay.
It is within the app because it has to also be encrypted.
But you are not booking another session. You're just communicating.
You are
with
communicating.
the provider. Okay.
You are communicating.
Understood.
So if it is after 1 week after a video consultation, you have this text consultation for free.
Okay.
So you can use it to ask your questions, ask query about the consultation.
Right.
But the moment the conversation changes to, okay, I took my leg to the doctor now, doctor, I'm talking about my pregnancy. You need a different specialist.
That's a different menu.
The moment you change the specialist,
right,
it's a new consultation. you have to pay for that service for that new specialist. But you have the possibility to communicate your side effects, report it. The doctors will also review it immediately. Usually we give about 48 hours because sometimes the doctor needs to do further research, because sometimes the things we have said, the doctor needs to consult other people, have time to research before he answers you.
Understood. Right, we're doing our we're walking through. Maybe I should drop the word simulation. We're walking through for now, and we're trying to understand our telemedicine consult with our guest in the studio. Dr. Ganyaglo is in Freetown, where he's working on something. I don't want to gossip too much, but we were told that all-round virtual specialist clinic is prospecting, if I can call it that, in other parts of the sub-region, and extending their tentacles. So he's out there. And then I have in the studio with me Max Chumboateng, a pharmacist you just heard, and Dr. Kenneth Techi is with me. This was a hello, Nortey. Once again, thanks for the great program. My 2 pence or my tuppence is that they should encourage customers to appear on camera, because a football pundit was saved from a dangerous cancer when someone spotted a spot on his face, which was a symptom of a particular cancer. Okay, of course you can have a non-cancerous blemish on your face, but a good point there. This one says, I think this is Dede, medications vary by names, compositions in many countries. If prescribing meds for folks outside of your location and or practice, is research done to prescribe the right meds for other locations? So depending on the formulary and whatever you're using, she's saying there are differences.
Well, he's talking about but the proper names of medicines are the same.
They are standardized.
And that's what clinicians should prescribe, and not the branded names.
Okay. All right. Ni, the name of the app is All Round Health App.
Yes. Correct.
All Round Health App. Okay. But the service is All Round Virtual Specialist Clinic. But the app is All Round Help.
So the service is All Round Specialist Virtual Clinic.
Yeah.
And then the app is All Round Health App.
Okay, right. The health app is causing me to say HAP. They'll say, oh, this Ghana boy. It's because I'm thinking of the health and the health. I bet go back a bit. I missed something. Having used telemedicine in my line of work, ophthalmology in London, I'm a bit concerned where doctors said the patient can decide not to or to decline using video. This is from somebody, I guess, in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Is that right?
So ordinarily, once you start the consultation, your video comes on.
Right.
So that's the default setting.
Mm-hmm.
However, I've done consultations where the patient has put off the light and would not put it on because she says no, she was not well, covered.
All right.
And so she did it virtually in the dark. In those situations,
I wasn't doing so.
Yes, we encourage that your video be on.
Right.
But if the patient puts it off, you can't put it on at your end.
Okay.
And also for the patient right side, right? Even in the regular clinics or hospitals, the patient has the right to tell the doctor to stop treatment even in the middle of
Okay.
Yeah. So the patient's right charter allows the patient, gives some patients some right to say, I cannot continue with this treatment. Doctor must change it, or I have the right to change my doctor.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 47 minutes past the hour of 2. Phone line is 0302216541. Let's hear from you if you have any questions. Doesn't have to be in the field. This I've read from Dede about the name of medications. Was there something else, Abeku? Right. Abeku has the steering wheel. I have the car. This is from Doris. It says, okay, Doris was from Croydon in the UK about ophthalmology. We've answered that. About the rights to.
I see a lot of your listeners or people are sending WhatsApp from UK and US.
Yeah.
Again, like we said, we see patients here. So let's say you have a relative in Ghana and you are concerned about, whilst they are consulting, with their permission, a link can be sent to the relative who is in the US or
Okay.
the UK, and they can join the consultation.
Okay.
Something you would not get if you went to the brick and mortar hospital.
Right.
And you can then make inputs into the care of your relative.
Okie dokie. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. 48 minutes past the hour 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. Again, let me come back to Dr. Ganyaglo. So, obstetrics, gynecology. So give me a regular consult. So you're going into all of these. I like to use the word intrusive areas. You have the options of audiovisual backup and input. Maybe I'm wrong. It could apply to urology as well for the males. I mean, if you ask me to, move my camera down there or whatever, that okay? And I know my listeners will want to know. I mean, so pan your camera down there and move it to the left or the right. I know I'm in the company and in a professional interaction with a qualified physician or specialist. How does one do that? I'm just wondering. With all this data security and all that, Dr. Ganyaglo, would something like that come into your, you're doing down there plumbing. So does Dr. Techi. Would you request something like that? I know the patient has a right to refuse, but if it's necessary, would you? Can you?
That is a very good point you're making, and it is a limitation of the system. I haven't had the need to ask a patient to point the camera down their private part or their intimate sides. And like you said, a lot of the consults will be about patient counseling and helping the patient to also understand a bit of what is going on with their body. Even in person, not all our consults require an intimate examination.
Okay.
And you need to get the patient's permission before you can even do an intimate examination. And some patients will still say no. So whether it's a virtual consult, it's not entirely limiting. And for a lot of the infertility consults that I have had, you find that laboratory investigation is more helpful after you have had a good historical basis for the infertility. So here again, the limitation is very minimal. It's part of our training and we love to examine, but without that, with a lot of experience working in the field for maybe the third decade or so, you will be able to give the patient satisfactory consult and recommendations for treatment without necessarily doing an intimate examination of the patient. And if indeed that becomes absolutely necessary, like I said earlier, you can always make a recommendation to a colleague who is also on the virtual platform who can do an in-person examination and give you feedback. Thank you.
Okay. You satisfies my curiosity. Phone line is still 030-221-6541. WhatsApp is 055-1111-997. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We are dissecting telemedicine and trying to get closer to the actual practical application from both ends. And we've got the providers here in the studio, and of course you potential or actual users on the other end. Dr. Techi, we're going to add something.
So I see a few people saying they can't find the app. The all round is actually one word. Not all round is actually one word.
Okay,
yes.
all right.
So
Take it as my fault. Okay, but still, I think when you keyed in, it should show, right? But okay, right. So if you have any questions, phone lines are active 030-221-6541. We're looking at this. I dealt with consent the last time, but let's go over this. When I register, right? It shows I'm interested in the facility. I'm ready to use it. How do we handle consent? Because it's a requirement. It's also a legal process that can protect both ends of the interaction. So when I register, have I given you consent for anything or specific things you would still go over and give me information that helps me to give informed consent? Along the line, maybe you want me to go and do something or undergo a process. How do we handle consent?
So there is a general consent that you give during registration, and of course it comes with the usual instructions.
General consent.
Yes.
Okay.
That you like you said, giving permission for access to your health data. But just like any medical service or consultation, when a doctor has to do anything, of course you have to get consent from the patient.
Okay.
Not so, I mean, asking questions, taking a history, in this case not doing a thorough physical examination, but like we said, if I want you to go back a little for me to see your stomach area,
right,
you could then say no, I don't want, and of course the doctor has nothing else to do than to,
and your no is recorded.
Oh yes,
Right.
yes.
It's captured.
It's captured.
Okay.
So physically, so the interaction is not captured. The video is not captured.
Right.
But the doctor would make notes like any hospital, and it's captured in his notes that patient's lights were off, or did not show his face, or did not agree to have his abdomen area seen.
Okay. All right. So consent is covered. May I suggest and recommend an update in the app to consent required to include has access to your health data provided. So I think that's that initial pop-up that comes, right?
Well noted.
So they suggesting that let's make it specific so that it's not a turn-off, so to speak, that people are not deterred by that. And many of the apps that ask me questions, I'm uncomfortable with. That's it. We're done. I'm out of there. All right. So good one. They shares that. I guess there's no harm in doing that, and it will serve the purpose. Right. So these are some practical issues, and we talked about fees and payment last week. So once we've done this, then we're in business. You have access to these services and experts and specialties. Yep. Okay. I was reading up and I realized that the elderly, in some research, didn't particularly they preferred live interactions. It made them feel more comfortable. Does that apply? I mean, maybe it's the research I read, but
yes. So obviously, for obvious reasons, the elderly are often the last who want to change to use technology. And I say, for example, even though the mercury's fake for checking blood pressures are no longer supposed to be in use, I would have people come to the clinic and insist that they want you to use
the actual.
Yes. I say,
not
no,
these snazzy ones.
Exactly. It's no longer in use, but they don't trust.
Put the band around my arm.
Exactly.
Pump. And then I see the BP.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Even me, it took me a long while to switch to using mobile money, so I can perfectly understand people's hesitancy in wanting to access telemedicine.
Okay.
But what I can say is that the elderly who have experienced telemedicine are actually, in fact, our oldest patient is 94 years.
Whoa.
And she loves it. Her relatives think that sometimes she's well, but just wants to talk to you.
So she's online.
Exactly. So she comes online. But that's how the system is. If you compare it to the inconvenience of staying in traffic, getting to hospital, waiting in a queue, and then sometimes to see a doctor for 5 minutes, and then suddenly in the comfort of your home, even in your bed, you find the same doctor giving you the same instructions. It can be exciting, and the return rate for persons who have used telemedicine or our service is very high. But I agree that first-time users always have some concern. But I can say once you use it, you'll be overwhelmed.
Africans like laying of hands. Even when the pastors do it, we love it. The pastors can throw you around, step on you, and all that, and they're quite happy to receive that. But I mean, this absence of actual one-on-one interface, you report positive responses and outcomes.
Yes.
Okay. Of course, where there's a need, you schedule an in-person appointment.
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't it become a barrier that people really they like the fact that I've got access to specialists, but really I'm angling and fishing to see you in person, and therefore very quickly I'll switch off once I've got you and we are communicating. The rest of my stuff I would prefer to have you physical. Can I switch? Can I say that after I've got in contact with Dr. Techi, Dr. Ganyaglo, and whoever, and say, now, I'd really want to, bring my stuff.
Yes. So first, let me say that listeners should cast their minds back and ask themselves, the last time I was in hospital, was I really examined? Oftentimes, there's no examination, but doctors are still able to arrive at a diagnosis.
Right.
But it's perfect. I mean, and especially ophthalmologists, dentists, and surgeons, oftentimes, they would evaluate the patient online, but if they need, let's say, a tooth extraction or examination of the eye, or some form of hernia repair, they refer them to see them in their physical locations.
Okay.
And this appointment, like I said last week, can actually also be made online, which we call the in-clinic services.
Right.
The benefit of that is that it takes away the hustle of you now going to a big hospital, trying to locate the doctor and get an appointment. All that is done for you. Right. And then you just go and you again enjoy the same convenience because you don't waste time.
Okay, great stuff. So lastly, we're almost out of time. I'll take a take from each of you. Doesn't it seem like you are working to put yourselves out of business? People say this. I mean, a pharmacist who's talking about robots handling medicines and doing is that what we're looking forward to, that will automate everything, and very soon, I mean, I don't even need to know you. Your voice and everything is okay. It's just like the MTN or a provider saying your credit is low. It's set at a certain threshold. It will tell you. Doesn't it look like we're changing the scene, and very soon these human interfaces may be a thing of the past? Doesn't that worry you?
Okay, so not at all, because you're taking away the human interface and bringing in a system that is more efficient, more convenient, more cost effective, greater privacy and security. And I think that everybody should be excited about this. If you've done banking online, schooling online, shopping online, I think it's time for people to get health online.
All right, pharmacists.
Yeah.
Offline, online? Just quickly.
Yeah, so for the robotic side is coming in. And what the robots are doing are not what pharmacists do.
Right.
Pharmacists are not trained to be carrying boxes and picking drugs from the shelf and putting it here.
Okay.
They are there to give pharmaceutical counseling and advice on the use of medication to patients. But oftentimes you go to the pharmacy.
Is really enhancing efficiency.
Actually enhancing efficiency, because it gives them more time to interact with patients than always finding your pharmacy busy counting drugs, doing stock taking, shifting things there, doing more of the back office thing than interacting with the patient.
It leaves you to do the core things you're supposed to be doing at the pharmacy.
Exactly.
So you're good to go on that.
Sure. Okay. And then those who are not, have not improved, because there are some other staff in the pharmacy whose job will be affected by technology, but they have the opportunity to improve themselves.
Okay.
Than also staying there for technology to take their jobs away.
Let me give the last stab at it to Dr. Gabriel Ganyaglo in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Doc.
Yeah, I think, Nortey, once AI hits our shops, we should all accept that brick and mortar healthcare is going to be a thing of the past. The earlier we catch up with technology, the better for us. And perhaps this is our silver lining on the COVID clouds, that it made us to go faster into technology, and we cannot afford to be left behind. This is more efficient and it's more convenient, and I think the patients will prefer this ultimately. Thank you.
Right, great stuff. You just heard speaking Dr. Gabriel Ganyaglo, consultant obstetrician, urogynecologist and fistula surgeon, head of urogynecology at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, also a provider on telemedicine. In the studio, I've had pharmacist, tech enthusiast, territory manager for Medication Management Solutions Central and West Africa for Becton Dickinson Company, or BD, Maxwell Chum Boateng, and our own Dr. Kenneth Tachi. Some people called him my cocoa doctor, right? He's a consultant gastroenterologist, head of gastroenterology at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, a senior lecturer with the University of Ghana Medical School, and a co-founder of the all-round virtual or specialist virtual clinic. It's a mouthful, but it's doing good stuff. I hope we've educated you. We didn't get to do a full simulation, but I think we've got the understanding, and I'm most grateful to the gentlemen. I'm sure they have lady or women specialist online as well. For those of you who will meet me somewhere and complain that it's an all men's thing, but that's what we do on Ultimate Health. If it impacts on your health and your well-being, we'll talk about this and every Sunday, 2:05 on Joy 99.7 FM. Many thanks to my producer, Abeku Sankofi, for hooking up Dr. Ganyaglo. I do hope he'll be back in Ghana. I think this would reduce brain drain. Actually, you can actually stay in your own country and do good. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM. My name is Nortey by nature. I'm out of here. There's good things to come. Stick and stay on Joy 99.7 FM.
Joy.